course, as we know, it can take a pretty long time for that to develop. It's not like
Oh,
you snap
man.
your fingers and the SWAT team gets it.
Right in the
So,
middle of right in the
have
middle of
been
a basketball
in
game.
transit to this
We have
when
a
this all happened.
barricade police
And,
pursuit going on here.
Now,
now we're back where we were.
maybe into this neighborhood. Yeah, back where we were here. Let's
Give me a
see what
second
they
here. I
do.
got to
They
catch
tried
up.
any attempt to get him off the
Whoa,
bike.
whoa, 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 whoa! That's where he came from? There's cops everywhere, and he's just navigating right through them. Spike strips on the ground.
Melba and Wyndham is where this person lives, right through the police tape there. And some pretty high speeds as well. We've been seeing this guy blasted through some stop signs here up to 70, 80 miles an hour. I think that was another cop right through that yellow tape there as well.
Just went through. They have the whole area like barricaded. He keeps driving through it. I gotta lock in for this one. God, I'm gonna have to do my dual. It's been a minute since I've had to do both of these at once. Really test my capacity here, but we have a suspect that is really refusing to give up. A barricaded SWAT about to enter suspect who got to a bike. I don't know where this bike came from.
Even though there was a swarm of police cars around him.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting is over the years we've seen a number of
All right, sorry, I'm getting all my devices up here. I had to switch over from NBA. All right, where are we? He's like, this guy's quite literally just pulling up next to cops and just driving through the intersection.
A sport bike would be, so I don't know.
Yeah, halftime race, two-wheel Dodge Charger.
He is obviously very skilled as we're taking a live look here.
Little halftime police chase, good timing.
Pursuit of a rider of motorcyclist here in Los Angeles. Desmond Shaw is overhead in SkyCal. This guy's actually putting on a display.
What's up, everyone? Sorry, I can't get to everyone that's resubscribing here. I apologize. I'm trying to balance all of... There's a cop right on his ass, too. He's most certainly taunting. He keeps driving right by him. How do you pit a two-wheel Dodge Charger? Doors open. Police officers out. They got guns drawn on him. And he just doesn't really care. I'm out of here. See you later. And that's a quick 70 miles an hour. Whoa, Desmond. I can't handle this right now.
When the motorcycle goes directly underneath us here, but this person just zipping all over the place here,
making me nauseous.
Either taunting officers or just completely ignoring them. And
this guy, he's doing both because he drove right. He went back to the scene of the crime just to drive past them right before we went live, and now he's just stopping at intersections, just not caring about them. So it's a combination of apathy and trolling.
So they were taking maximum precaution over all this. There was a really big LAPD response. It sounded like they had a line of communication open to this person, like they were trying to get them to put the gun away. And at least
I'm taking notes on the damn game, too, here at the same time, so you guys are going to have to bear with me while I do both.
Standoff, whatever you want to call it, into a full-blown high-speed pursuit through streets of the West San Fernando Valley.
Yeah,
San Fernando Valley, that would explain why.
To bring in from the assignment desk, Mike Rogers. So, Mike, do we
I have no clue as to what the want is on this at all.
Obviously, he's in a troubled mental state.
Troubled mental state is what we're hearing on the broadcast here.
Do we know of anybody injured at this point?
We are San Fernando Valley. If we're in San Bernardino County, you guys know what that means.
The reason they came here was for shots being fired, and the report was he was on his balcony, and if we, when we were looking at the front of the home, there's a balcony right above the garage, and that's where he was. Now, the close proximity to Chaminade, and they had a baseball game, which is obviously played outdoors. That's why they suspended that.
Man, he's doing some big-time speed, isn't he? 70 miles an hour on side streets in a two-wheel Dodge Charger, white Dodge Charger. What's up, everyone? Yeah, we're going to have to double screen this bitch. Big game going on, big police chase going on. This one does not feel like it's going to be over anytime soon.
And if so, is there family members that are talking to police that you know of?
We do believe it's his home. We don't know if there were family members there at the time or anybody they can communicate with. Hopefully there is. Hopefully there's somebody that can, shed light on his mental health, struggles that they've described. Now, one of the things, Jeff, that we've seen multiple times is they'll try to contact the suspect, right? They'll try to get on the phone with him. I don't know how feasible that is on a motorcycle. So their line of communication may not be as easy as it has been before. And to be honest, it doesn't look like he really wants to communicate at this point. I mean, we watched him pull over to the side of the road.
Looks like he's just content kind of driving around, doesn't he?
At gunpoint. and he took off. And it looked like he maybe said a couple of things to them, but he took off. And, you know, I was just playing back Desmond's video. They had, I'm looking in just one shot, 5 patrol cars, you know, blocking his cul-de-sac where he lived. And again, because of the agility of a motorcycle, he was able to go right up.
How many times is Jokic going to go to that drop step in the second half?
Mike Rogers. Let's go back up to Desmond Shaw up in Skycal. So, Des, we understand that this person is in a troubled mental state, was waving a gun. We heard about gunshots. Have you seen any evidence, Des, that he still has the gun on him and that he's pointed it at anybody?
No, have not seen evidence of that. And, you know, LAPD was saying that they believe that this person suffers from depression as well. So this is obviously, you know, a very volatile mix. You know, there's now you've got, you know, innocent people involved here as well that have no idea what's going on. They're just sitting here, and here's LAPD out with weapons drawn. It must be, you know, an incredibly frightening situation. There you see LAPD's helicopter there that just went through our shot. So a very volatile situation, especially now that, you know, as Mike's telling us, that they were not able to recover a weapon at that residence. And you can see, you know, the storage compartments on the back of this bike right now. So this is just all really trending badly. We're still kind of in rush hour traffic. I mean, considering it's a
So you guys heard Desmond there.
You know,
we have
definitely going to have some hype traffic out here as
what the
well.
police believe to be a troubled mental state.
So we're
and
down towards the 101
if this ends ugly,
we'll see what this
viewer discretion not only advised, but I will be censoring any gore at the end of this. So CBS likely will as well. But if you're coming in here looking for a zoomed in bad ending, this is not the place for you. Keep that in the back of your mind that we've been very fortunate that some of these chases end peacefully. Most do not. And this is trending towards one based on the information that we know on the suspect that will not end. Is that not a travel? That will not end pristine, put it that way. So if you're not interested in a volatile ending, now is your time that you can escape without having to experience and witness it.
Take a live look. LAPD pursuit of a motorcycle, a rider on a motorcycle.
I don't have the game. I don't have the chase on delay because I'm watching the game on TV right now. Usually I would have the chase on in the background.
That is the rider in the middle of the screen of your set there as we take a live look here.
Matter of fact, I can probably.
Let's bring back in Mike Rogers. Mike, this
yeah,
is
I have
situations where he is obeying most of the traffic laws. He's stopping at a red light, but obviously is not complying with any commands by police.
Right, and you know, we even see when the police pulled up to him, he made some kind of, you know, gesture with his hand, like almost like a, you know, kind of keep talking, one of those types of gestures. And you know, I mean, like we've talked about, it's a situation where LAPD doesn't have a ton of options here. There's no spike strips that they can do. There's, you know, definitely not a pit maneuver that they can do. All they can do is hopefully maybe at these traffic lights shout commands. Sorry, I'm listening to some radio traffic.
Yeah.
They're getting into LAS, the sheriff's department's jurisdiction, Jeff, as you were mentioning, getting close to Calabasas. So they're notifying the sheriff's department, but asking the sheriff's department to stay out of it. They want to keep tactical control of this, and I do hear them coordinating.
He's back there barking at somebody.
Additional units to be involved in this pursuit. One, because he's armed, right, which is always a concern. But two, because now we're getting, you know, out of LAPD's jurisdiction, and they want to make sure they have enough units to handle this situation. But you know, as Desmond gets a nice tight shot there, you can see he is, you know, he's talking to them. He's
barking at the cops, and as soon as he does, he just pieces out. See you later.
Coming to a stop at the intersections like he's supposed to do. Hopefully, that's giving these officers a chance to maybe try and reason with him a little bit, because obviously they're not going to be able to do that over the phone, you know, because he's driving this motorcycle. And Des, is that a red light?
I believe that was a red light. Yeah, traffic from Calabasas Road there was, you know, trying to go, and then he just went right through it. So now we are on to Mulholland Drive. Valley Circle turns into Mulholland Drive. We're south of the 101 freeway, getting into Calabasas, and this will either turn over to Mulholland Highway or bend over towards Topanga Canyon. So we'll see which direction the suspect decides to go at this point. But just very troubling behavior. We've seen, you know, how these motorcycles sometimes will really, really push it. And when you consider that this person is not in a good frame of mind, it just adds another sense of danger to this whole thing. We've seen some motorcycle pursuits end in the worst possible way, you know, and so that is
speeds like this too. Oh boy, is this
someone that just is
worst case scenario?
You know, in a good state right now.
So, Des and Jeff, I'm just listening to some radio traffic, and I'm not going to give away tactical information, but there is something they have up their sleeve that they're going to try to do that potentially will at least jolt him into doing, the right thing and pulling over here. They are starting to talk about their options because they too are aware.
What can you tactically do to slow down a motorcycle? Spike strips are going to cause him to crash. Can't pit maneuver.
Bring this to an end.
Looks like he took Old
Maybe they
Topanga
stop him and
Canyon
they hit him with
Road.
non-lethals
This
to get him
is,
off the motorcycle. That might be.
Calabasas.
That would be my
Looks like
guess.
Old Topanga Canyon Road at Rincrest.
We're at Mulholland and Old Topanga. That doesn't.
Kind of a wide
That sounds like
turn.
Hollywood,
Part
not
of
San
an
Fernando.
LAPD motorcycle pursuit of a suspect the rider wanted for waving a weapon.
Topanga,
Mike,
we're
we
definitely
should
just
also
northeast.
mention that Chaminade High School was nearby this. There was a baseball game at Chaminade that was canceled and postponed because of this, but this all occurred.
There was a
after
baseball game that was postponed because this was nearby to a high school. They had to postpone a
5 o'clock.
high school
would've been
baseball
well over
game.
by then. So the student body as a whole was never in danger, but obviously the kids that were playing baseball, and of course the fans and spectators.
My guess is they'll try and get him to slow down to stop at another red light. When he turns around and barks at him, they hit him with non-lethals. Be my guess, and get him off the bike and then run in there and grab him and detain him.
No weapon has been seen since police have been in pursuit with him on his motorcycle. We have Desmond Shaw and SkyCal, of course, as we continue to take this live here on KCAL News. I'm Jeff Vaughn, along with Mike Rogers, as I mentioned, up in SkyCal, it's Desmond Shaw. Let's get the latest from SkyCal. Des, he's now on Mulholland Highway.
That's right, Mulholland Highway here as we make our way towards the east. So this should make it over to Topanga Canyon here shortly and see if that's what the suspect is thinking, if they're maybe going to take Topanga Canyon towards the coast, or if they...
Yeah, I guess we're just going
to... be towards Woodland Hills.
Oh, we are? All right. So we're not as... I thought we were in like San Bernardino County here, folks. We're in Woodland Hills. We're headed towards the damn water. I knew Topanga Canyon and Mulholland. Like, that sure sounds like just north of West Hollywood.
And with some shots being fired, you see a bunch of units that are going through the shot right now. So we'll see what LAPD is thinking. As Mike was saying, there is an idea that they have. They were, I was wondering if they were going to maybe try to coordinate something with sheriff's deputies in the Calabasas area, Lost Hills sheriffs, but now we're back in LA jurisdictions. We are on Topanga Canyon, I believe. You're actually, okay, still on Mulholland Drive, but going to be coming up to Topanga here very quickly as they get ready to go underneath us, and then we'll see what the plan is going to be once we get to Topanga Canyon. That will be the end of Mulholland Drive, this section of Mulholland
Still
Drive.
cruising along here. Two-way white two-wheel Dodge Charger. Mulholland going westbound. Topanga Canyon near Chaminade High School.
Because they initiated this as they go through different jurisdictions, if you will. Des made mention of
Two-wheel Dodge Charger chases are always
the law enforcement agency there. Of course,
always
they all partner and work with
super
each other.
dangerous.
And if they are needed to, they will jump in and help out with this. But it appears at this point in time, just a number of LAPD cruisers in this pursuit.
Right, yeah, and each department has their own kind of, pursuit policies or pursuit...
You can tell we're going westbound because the sun is starting to blow up the exposure on Desmond Shaw's camera. So he's definitely going westbound as the sun's setting.
A couple of LAPD's people.
Would be my
sheriffs,
guess.
I don't think play that game quite as strictly. So, if LAPD needed their help, certainly I'm sure the sheriff would step in and do that. But the LAPD has asked their dispatchers, their Bureau Communications Center, to notify LASD and CHP, but ask them not to get involved. LAPD, the other thing we have to remember about this is LAPD's been out with this guy, for the better part of 2 hours. So whatever progress
So it sounds like tracking mode, but
with him,
not tracking mode? I don't know. I'm confused by where we're at in this chase right now.
Start that process all over. So whatever dialogue they had with this guy, whatever they know about him already, that's a huge advantage for the LAPD, and it would be almost counterproductive to have another agency have to start that process over again from scratch. But as we get on the freeway,
We getting on a freeway? 101?
This is going to go right by the Hidden Hills entrance, I think, right there.
Yeah, he's in like Calabasas, Sierra Canyon now.
Right, Des?
Going east, right? I think we're actually going east and southbound here. Yeah. I got
This should be 101 southbound then.
Highway. We were
This will take us straight downtown if he stays on it, but also back towards San Fernando.
Now we are on the eastbound 101, so first time we've been on the freeway at this point.
All right, folks,
And,
we're on the highway
just because
now.
we're on the freeway doesn't mean that LAPD needs to turn this over immediately to CHP or anything like that, especially after what Mike was just talking
Might get a
about. They're,
CHP,
likely to stick with this.
airship
We'll see if
he
CHP
stays on
has
for a
any
long time.
involvement, in this one, but fairly light traffic conditions. This is the time of the day when the 101 starts to kind of clear up a little bit. Might encounter a couple of slow pockets around Tampa, Reseda, the 405, and we'll just see whatever the suspect is thinking. If they have some kind of a getaway plan or what the deal is. As I widen out to see here, looks like LAPD has backed off a little bit. They still have their helicopter overhead, and might be just be getting right off the freeway now.
All right, at least we're getting off really quickly.
And
Well before downtown, well before even getting to West Hollywood, Hollywood area.
You know, the broadcast that's been
Ventura
put out to
Boulevard,
CHP
yeah, we're in the
officers,
heart of like
and that broadcast is indicating he actually has 2 types of firearms.
Chatsworth, yeah.
So LAPD believes that he is
this
not
will be
armed
like
with just
Thousand
one gun,
Oaks.
But now 2. So that's the
Maybe a
situation
little
as well.
east of
You know,
Thousand
and
Oaks.
LAPD had asked the other agencies to you know, kind of stay away from this, and CHP is advising their units to do just that. So, you know, they're able to call this out as it goes, and CHP is asking their units just to stay away from it altogether. You know, we don't want to spook them. We don't want to do anything like that. LAPD wants to handle it. Let LAPD handle it.
That's an obvious danger to the public if you have somebody in this state who has 2 weapons on them eluding police. Obviously, they want to get this stopped. But this is the reason why we are live here on KCAL News. This is a threat to the public. This
Don't
is
miss
a
that
man
one, LeBron.
who's already
All right, there you
fired
go.
a gun, waving a gun earlier.
He
as
made
well.
sure-
Has
he made
been,
sure to
interacting with police
put that one
this,
in.
Game of cat and mouse for about 2 hours plus now, as we're taking a live look here from SkyCal of this rider on this motorcycle who's in a mental state that's troubled, we believe. That's what officials have told us. Now we're getting word from the assignment desk here, Mike Rogers, that rider has 2 weapons on him.
Oh, shit.
He hasn't.
He's got 2 weapons on
been
him.
aggressive, other than just showing aggressive riding skills, if you will. He's gone through a number of stop signs and red lights and been pretty fast, weaving in and out of traffic. But we haven't seen those weapons. Onto the right side is going to be some of the video from earlier today, going up on sidewalks and a little aggressive driving there. But at the times when he does stop at a stop sign or stoplight and police get up behind him, they come out with their guns drawn. But the rider has
68-62, halfway point, third quarter.
You can tell they're
Better
kinda
get some.
talking
We
back
better
and
get a
forth.
damn resolution
I
of
wanna
this
have
chase
Jasmine
before the
Beal has joined me
game
now
ends.
here
We still
on
got
set
plenty
here
of
on
time.
KCAL News as we continue to follow this breaking
We're going to
news.
stick with 4 stars for
LAPD
now because
motorcycle
LAPD is.
SkyCal is overhead. Let's get back to Des
This is not a
as we
SWAT
take
chase.
a
5
live
stars
look
would
on
have
the
to be either
left-hand part of the screen
Bearcat,
with that,
SWAT,
video
San Bernardino sending
on
in
the
the
right.
sniper from the helicopter.
Yeah, so we are on
Yeah, here's a replay if you guys are joining us just late, when he went back to the site of the crime and just started driving through all the cars, all the police cruisers there. I don't know if that was him taunting or what was going on, but
They had some kind of destination in mind, but they just got right off at Topanga Canyon. And now
yeah, we'll
in this
have Radio
residential
Roulette
area
following
of Woodland Hills, just to the south, the 101 freeway.
following
We
the
apologize
game
for
and
the shot.
hopefully
We
the
are shooting
chase.
right
We got
into the
2
sunset
things that
right
need
now.
to
It's a
end
little bit
first.
hazy out, so that is why the shot looks.
I'm
the
telling you, I'm
way
watching
it
the game
does.
right now.
Once
It's in a
the
commercial.
suspect gets out
Trying to watch
of
this
the sun,
chase and the game
should
at the
have a
same
little
time
better
and
shot
take
for you
notes on
right
it.
now, but pretty high speeds.
Going over
And
speed bumps.
reason to believe that there are 2
Going over a
weapons,
speed bump in a
over some
2-wheel
speed bumps
Dodge
right here.
Charger.
Reason to believe that this
A little bit
person
different.
has 2 weapons, possibly in those storage compartments. That's certainly how LAPD is treating this one, and we have not seen them make any sort of real attempt to bring this to any kind of an end. Again, motorcycles, totally different beast as opposed to dealing with a car. Like Mike was saying, we're not going to see spike strips or a pit maneuver or something like that that could cause this person to get into a catastrophic crash. That is not on the table. So LAPD really has to take this one pretty gingerly, but they are back there. But this person can just accelerate so quickly. As I widen out a little bit, we'll probably see LAPD's cruiser come into the shot here. But now just kind of circling around this neighborhood as we are on Costanzo and Via Boso Street here, south of the 101 freeway.
You know,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, Des, you brought up a good point, and we're going to show you some video of him initially leaving his garage there
Oh.
from his West Hills home, where he had been on the balcony waving
This is
around.
when he opened the garage during the barricade, got in a motorcycle, and just drove through the damn barricade situation and said, "See you later."
Navigate through some very tight spaces as officers try to follow him.
Oh,
But
shit,
much
that is
more
Terminator
difficult
2.
those challenges that come with someone on a bike, on a motorcycle, versus in a car. Where the places that he can go. So again, you see him on the right, this video from earlier, driving through the parking lot. Officers had been there already, trying to talk him down.
Yeah, and that brings up that strange dynamic that we're dealing with here. I'd like to bring in Mike Rogers from the assignment desk. This is a situation where you're dealing with a motorcyclist. How do you diffuse the situation? It's not like a car. It doesn't have four wheels. You can't use the stop sticks. There's ways that they can do it with a car. You just don't really see it so much with a motorcycle. Of course, they want to make sure everybody's
Kind of
safe
just
and
in
clear
traffic
around
right now.
you.
So he's
kind of a
probably not even
protective
close to
strap.
where he came out of that garage, is he?
And, the
Unless
other
he's
thing,
headed
too,
back
is,
that
and,
way.
I don't ever want to minimize a crime, but this is not just a stolen vehicle, right? If this was a stolen motorcycle, they'd probably just wait it out.
Right.
They'd probably wait for him to run out of gas.
Right, but there's weapons.
They
There's
could
two
go what they call
weapons
their tracking mode
in
and
the,
get around units
supposedly
back up.
in the-
This guy is allegedly armed with two different types of weapons,
Yeah.
two different types of guns. This is not
in like
something they wanna
the
just
glove
let
box
play
or
out. This is
something,
something
whatever.
they
I
wanna
guess
try to
the
get under
two-wheel
control.
Dodge
Now,
Dodge
I
Charger
mentioned
version of
earlier,
the Dodge
Jeff, you
Charger
pointed out
is
that he was pretty
wherever
much
you.
stopping at all the stoplights and obeying traffic laws, and that was giving them the chance to have some communication with him. So that's obviously an idea that they're trying to do. But now in the most recent ones, he's not really come to those big intersections where he's stopping at the light. So that line of communication,
To me, it feels like
probably
LAPD is
isn't there
content
anymore.
with
Now,
just
down
lurking,
the road, if they want
letting
to take
him
it there, your other options are to bring in
let the
armed vehicles,
adrenaline wear off here a little bit. Maybe he'll get off of the motorcycle. Maybe he'll try and just go back home. He'll stop driving at 100 miles an hour. And he looks like he's abiding by street laws as opposed to when we started the stream. That's the reason for going into tracking mode. But as always, that we've seen benefits and we've seen benefits as well as disadvantages to going into tracking mode. So, but there's plenty of helicopters sitting right above him right now.
An option for less than lethal at this
And there's no
point.
LAX in
He
sight.
has a firearm. He has fired that weapon. We understand police say that he has two weapons with him. So it's not like they're going to be able to, I guess they probably could hit him with some less than
He sure
lethal
seems
round.
familiar with this part. I don't know where he left that from that
You
garage.
don't know where that could be a harm to
Kind
the
of
public.
get a sense of
there's just,
he knows
as
where
you
he's going
mentioned,
now.
Mike, a real
70 to
narrow,
62 Lakers after Austin Reeves.
place here for
It's
them
another
to
shot.
use any sort of abatement here, any sort of way to stop this guy.
Yeah, I mean, their options are just really limited, and it's, obviously they don't want to let him keep going. And I think one of the things, and, Des can chime in on this too, I don't know that I've ever seen a barricade suspect be able to successfully evade
Leave the scene.
barricade situation that
Yeah.
they're in. I mean, we were to the point here where we saw a mobile command post from
Right.
LAPD pull up. I mean, we were well within the initial processes of this, where in theory they would have had a secure enough scene that he wouldn't have been able to get out. But as you see the video on the right side of your screen, that's when he left the garage.
And drives right past
and
them.
right, exactly. And again, because of the agility of the motorcycle.
Right.
If they would have known it, they probably would have tried to go
Right.
at that point.
Right, I mean, you got 5 cop cars there. There's another 4, I think, right here at this T intersection that he comes to, plus the command post, plus the fire department was there staging as well. And that looks like an incident commander. You can see the schematics on the hood there.
I'm not even sure they knew that was the person they had barricaded.
I think Desmond had
They're
heard
probably
from the
standing
helicopter
by
as soon
hearing
as he
about a
came out of the
barricade
garage, right,
situation,
he's leaving.
and they're just
It
chilling. Whoa,
certainly took us
whoa,
by
that was close to a
surprise. Again,
T-bone.
I don't think I've ever seen a barricade suspect be able to successfully get out of the area that they're,
Those cops are probably like, oh, it's just a citizen that's
Desmond Shaw, Des, as he
going for a
continues
little
now on
sunset
Shute and Miranda.
golden hour stroll. Goes right by him.
Yes, so now north of the 101 freeway, they were kind of circling around the same neighborhood, a couple of laps there. Now kind of trending back to where this all began. And you can see here, the police get out here with their weapons drawn every time that this person comes to a stop. But as soon as the light turns green, they're just going to go again. And indeed, there they go. And I'd just like to echo that sentiment. I think LAPD was shocked that this person just opened the garage and drove out. You know, you were saying that we've never seen anything. I don't know that LAPD's ever seen it happen either. You know, we were probably, I have to imagine that SWAT had been summoned to the scene for this, and we're probably en route when this all happened. And it was just really, really caught everyone by surprise, least of all us, and least of all LAPD. I mean, I could see a couple of the officers' faces just kind of in shock as this person sped right by them. And then it was like, well, okay, I guess we're in pursuit now, and here we go. And you know, the complicating factor with weapons, most likely, or LAPD has reason to believe, in these storage compartments. Now we believe not one but two, as we're on Oxnard Street. And you know, I mean, hopefully this guy's just
Damn, 2-point lead out of nowhere.
Some volatile situations, and then all of a
74-72,
sudden, 8-0
run in about 90 seconds.
And they give it up. You know, the hope is that this guy is just needed to get out, blow off some steam. It's a lovely evening here in the San Fernando Valley, a nice evening for a bike ride, and maybe they'll come to their senses, but hard to be optimistic that will be how this all comes to an end.
We continue to cover this story here live on KCAL News. We're extended here at 7:23 before our regular programming starts 8 o'clock, bringing you this LAPD motorcycle pursuit of a rioter wanted for waving a gun from the balcony of his home in West Hills and actually firing some rounds. That was part of a standoff with police, and then he escaped, if you will, out of his own home with this motorcycle, just opening up the garage and taking off as police officers watch. That's going to be the right-hand part of your screen is going to be him escaping from that West Hills home. And we'll hold this video for just a few minutes, Jasmine, as you take a look.
Yeah.
He drives right by LAPD cruisers, and we assume, you know, you see a 4 or 5 there, and then he hits a road here, takes a left-hand turn in front of another number of officers.
And you assume at this point they've gone inside, if they've gotten some sort of warrant to do that, or at least maybe tried to speak to some family members, or we don't know if he was alone at the time, just that he was on his second floor balcony waving the gun around and even causing the Chaminade College Prep to cancel their baseball game as a result, because of the concern that this man was doing that, you know, potentially now armed with 2 guns, armed and dangerous, they're saying, since they had searched and realized that he might have those weapons on him at this point.
We should mention this all started around 5 o'clock. Long after the school and Chaminade High School was let out of classes.
Someone said Chaminade is big time too. You follow Chaminade preparatory baseball?
Postponed that, stopped the game, and then evacuated the players. Let's go over to Mike Rogers at the assignment desk. Mike, I know that you are probably making some contacts and maybe hearing the latest.
Yeah, we're checking with, you know, you brought up a good point, or Desmond, somebody did, about, you know, the SWAT team and what their involvement was if they were on the way. So we're checking with LAPD right now to see, you know, was this a situation where they'd already been activated?
Tie game in Denver.
They may continue to respond to come be a part of this. So we're making those calls right now to check on this. But yeah, I mean, this whole look, so you see that unmarked up to the top of the screen. It's pulling away because he's obviously not in the right place for a pursuit. But those could be the Metropolitan officers. Metropolitan.
That was that.
They don't
What was
always,
that? Is that an unmarked officer?
Really quick because.
Trying to get out.
Okay, well now they're pulling up on him. Every time they pull up on him, the door's open and then he just drives away. What do you expect to do?
So
Are we trying to hit him with non-lethals or what?
You know, I've seen them try to do it once, but he takes off before they can get close enough. So, but as I was saying, you know, some of those Metropolitan guys, they don't necessarily all drive in the big Bearcats, right? They take their unmarked vehicles, they'll get to a scene, and they'll all kind of get together. So we could be already seeing Metropolitan Division responding to this pursuit.
I am doing my Bob Gosses right now, 1994, when the NBA Finals were going on,
Still in kind of the West Hill area.
and the OJ chase at the same time. They didn't have picture-in-picture back then. They had to keep hot switching between the two. And Bob Costas was throwing it to Tom Brokaw in the studio as 2 of the biggest events in the world were happening on top of each other concurrently. And everyone was just doing that shit on the fly. And we got, while the magnitude of the Western Conference Finals is not the same of NBA Finals, nor is this an OJ chase, it is reminiscent with me looking back and forth here as Bruce Brown is in D'Angelo Russell's ear. But we're still cruising along here at 50 plus miles an hour.
Taunting LAPD, you know, we've seen a couple of motions I haven't seen that lately. Just kind of been ignoring them at the last couple of stoplights. Just really curious to see what LAPD's tactic will be and see if they are able to implement whatever it is they're thinking to bring this one to an end. And I just hope that if they are able to do whatever they're going to do, that this suspect doesn't try to pull anything. Like if they're able to get to the weapons in the storage compartment. We believe that that's where they are, not that they're in this person's waistband or a vest or anything like that. But we don't really know, and LAPD doesn't know either. If this person could be wearing something underneath that flannel, where they could have easy access to those weapons. Or they could be locked up in those storage compartments. But now, kind of looping around again, as we're back out onto southbound Topanga Canyon, coming up near Victory, and there's the Topanga Plaza right there in the background on the other side there.
You guys are getting a tour of the valley here in beautiful Los Angeles.
There is a stoplight right there in front of the building. But then there's also an entrance to a parking garage. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Don't
So
say
he's probably
parking
sure already
garage.
made it through that
That's the
intersection.
worst place for a chase to go.
No, yeah, I was just waiting to see. It looked like maybe they had stopped momentarily in the middle of the street or something like that, back out onto Irwin Street. So looping back around in this busy commercial area, lots of folks going out for dinner right now. A lot of dining options there at Topanga Plaza. Been there myself plenty of times.
Oh,
Now
tell
we're
us.
getting away from that, though,
Tell
as
us,
we are
Desmond.
westbound on Irwin, going away from Topanga Canyon back into the residential areas of Woodland Hills and then soon the West Hills area, only about a mile or so from where this all started, and looping back around again. I think this is the second time we've been on this street. So this has kind of been the
I love when
on this,
Stu or
during
Desmond,
this
because
entire
most of them
pursuit.
live in
It's
the
just kind
valley,
of
because that's where
loop around a couple
the
areas,
studios are
they go to another
headquartered. They just
area,
give you
loop around
all
there.
their Yelp
What
opinions
is
of all the places
idea?
there.
There is a really large
It adds to
parking
their
garage
knowledge
there
of the
at
area and
Topanga
makes them look
Plaza.
professional. But
So
no, there's some
many
fine
times
dining
we
options
see
in
motorcycle
there.
pursuits and with motorcycles going,
Yeah.
into a parking
And
garage.
if
So
he
we'll see
takes-
if
he takes
that's
this-
in this person's mind.
I was just
God
going to say,
damn.
if he takes this through
Jokic
here,
settling.
back through Topanga Canyon, then he could enter that parking
He's been
garage
settling all
on the
night.
right-hand turn if he sets it up right here. Let's just stay with it, make sure that he does it, because he will be going right through there. I believe that's the intersection right there, and then you'll see there might be an opportunity. There's a Costco right there, if I recall, but it looks like he's in the left-hand lane. So if he goes, this is where he would take a right-hand turn to get into the parking garage, I believe, does, but it looks like he's going to go straight.
Yeah, and we see one of the advantages of the motorcycle, if they're willing to do it, they're just kind of lane splitting like no problem. And LAPD kind of got stuck behind a couple of those cars. And you see with their lights on, folks are pulling over for LAPD, so only got a momentary distance there from the officers. As we are eastbound on Victory, we'll be passing.
I don't know if that was a
College
goaltend.
here, shortly as well, so away from the
Close.
Commercial center of the West Valley.
That ball looks like it's still on its way up, doesn't it? Because it's a tap back. Yeah, it's
right
close.
Through that red light there.
Ooh,
Looked like there's
solid
some
red
traffic
light.
ready to go
We are no
southbound.
longer in
Nope.
tracking mode as there is an
Got
armada
so now
of
northbound
LAPD
on
cruisers in
On
pursuit.
the edge of Woodland Hills right now.
And every time
as
that
we
happens,
stop
he hits
towards,
the Jets.
Canoga Park within the next quarter mile or so.
And maybe another area he is familiar with. I mean, we're seeing this man in his 60s, considered armed and dangerous, riding this white Harley, and he took time to put on the helmet as he sped out of his garage.
Oh, they're looking at it.
During a barricade situation where he had been waving a gun around, and now they believe he is armed with, like you said, Des, not one but two weapons, coming to a stop to make sure the intersection is at least...
Just based on, like, judging a book by its cover, it seems like the chase has calmed down a little bit. I don't know what's going on inside of his head, but this is not nearly as erratic as it was,
Let's
but
bring Mike Rogers
knock on
back in
wood.
from the assignment desk. Mike, you talked about the
Every time they
strategy
get
here
close, it
that
starts to
LAPD has,
reignite
to
the
defuse
flame,
this
though,
once
doesn't
he
it?
stops at an intersection. He certainly has stopped at a number of intersections, but he seems to be very keen to see what's around him and go the opposite direction of where those officers are.
Yeah.
Right, and I was going to point that out.
LAPD's
Early on in
tactical
this pursuit,
decision
he
is to
stopped.
just
He
let him run
stopped
out of
for,
gas.
a longer period of time than he is now, long enough for them to get out of his car, have brief dialogue with him before he takes out. But you'll notice, and we'll see if he does it exactly. So he'll pull to the intersection, almost clear it, make sure there's no traffic, and then as soon as those officers get out of their car, he's
Right.
gone. And that kind of will hinder, what they're trying to do. Now, Des, I don't know, and I certainly don't want you to lose the motorcycle, but if you're able to see, I'm starting to hear additional units get them themselves into this pursuit. So I don't know if we can see the kind of end of the line of cop cars that may be able to show us. You know, we had kind of heard potentially K9 was going to get involved in this, or we had seen those metropolitan units, but you know, it does look like they're all kind of spread out there. So, but yeah, you know, they are still trying to work this tactically and figure out what they can do. But, you know, the one thing that they were going to try is pretty, you know, important that he stays in the intersection for them to do that. And he's no longer staying in those intersections as long as he was.
Yeah, that's the MO now. He just kind of stops and takes off to see that the intersection is clear. And what's so interesting is because this was a result of a standoff earlier in the day, they had all those units that were sitting there at the ready. They were able to get on top of this rider pretty quick. This is a longer stop here, but again, Mike, just as you mentioned, he's going through. Let's go back up to SkyCal, Desmond Shaw. He's now on Saticoy and Jordan.
Yeah, Saticoy, kind of, you might call it a medium street through the San Fernando Valley. Mostly residential across, but can certainly be a busy and a major enough street here as we're back at Topanga Canyon again. And so this will lead us back to West Hills and, well, back now onto Topanga Canyon. I was going to say, you know, Saticoy would
Still joyriding around Topanga Canyon Boulevard. We're still in the same area pretty much.
Right near the...
How crazy would it be if he just went straight back to his garage, closed it, and went back inside?
So just looping all over the place. On this one, LAPD out in force, a lot of units. You know, they need to have quite a few units ready with a motorcycle here who could gain some distance on them and, you know, fit into a tight space. Just
my luck, this is going to be a marathon chase, right? Because I went live. I'm supposed to do a post-game show. You know this is going to be like a 4-hour chase, the longest chase of the year, of course. The timing of this shit.
Evade the officers after they went into a dead-end cul-de-sac, but it had a pedestrian walk through that went out onto Wood Lake, and that's, you know, just one of the many advantages that the suspect can have over the cruisers. As we now over onto Sherman Way, and now continuing westbound on Sherman Way. You can see there's we're shooting into the sun as well, so that's the reason for the less than stellar shot here as. Yeah, cruising down Sherman Way now into West Hills.
Well, you know, we talk about all the disadvantages that police have in taking down a motorcycle rider, and there are many of them. But one of the things I think, Mike, that is interesting is as opposed to a car where you can kind of hide your activity, and if they were to pull over, you know, police really may not know if that person could have foot bail and when they're going to do it. But on a motorcycle, they can see that off. They can see that rider practically doing everything. So I guess that's one of the advantages that police have in a situation like this, is that they can see his movements. If he does reach for a gun, they can see that. He can't hide behind seats. And if he was to try to foot bail, that might be more difficult on a motorcycle, I think.
Well, I was also, I don't know if Des or Mike even remembers this, but it was January of 2022 in West Hills. There was a chase of LAPD pursuing another motorcyclist, and it ended in a deadly crash. So how these things can turn out on such a tiny vehicle and how dangerous it really is.
Somebody in the chat said, is he driving into heaven? Yeah. No. When you go west, the sun's setting here at 7:35. Sunsets at 7:50.
First time he's done an aggressive move.
Yeah, 7:50. So the sun's just going down the angle. If you face due west, it's just going to expose the... He's driving into that same area that Frodo goes to at the end of Lord of the Rings.
You know, kind of getting right up on him. You know, they've had this helicopter overhead the entire time. It's the same one that was actually on the perimeter.
Don't worry, when the sun goes down, that's when the night sun comes up.
Aware of this guy's actions, and I think our controller was working on it, but if we can show my computer maybe in an inset, I can show you. There we go. So this orange line that you're looking at, that's from the LAPD helicopter. So this big circle is right where the standoff was, and you see Chaminade High School right in the middle of that.
Right.
And so we've pretty much just gone down into the Calabasas area here, back up around.
Look at this. We have MapQuest. We have
to where we started. So
what do you guys call this? Picture in picture with the route info of the chase.
Drives in circles and moves on to another neighborhood.
I might have to include this. Where do you think this? I bet there's a scanner or something
this whole thing
that tracks helicopters.
Jasmine, you mentioned that previous pursuit that involved
live map update. John Madden, Telestrator.
If the situation arises, this person dumps the motorcycle, or if police are able to get up there and he does produce his weapon, we will dump out of that as quickly as we possibly can, come back to us, and we'll brief you as to what has just occurred to try to eliminate any sort of...
Doesn't it feel like he's going back to his house?
...of that disturbing video. So we're going to of course, stay on top of that and keep that in mind.
But as you said, Jeff, I mean, these situations are so
Yeah.
unpredictable. And Jasmine, you know, the one you were talking about, we're back at the house.
What?
We're back where
So
we
he
started
turned
now.
right back. I wonder if he's.
I knew it!
Inside, or they're going to try to stop him.
Did he make a turn, Des, away from the house?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's going into where all the cops are. There's a blockade.
Right back down the cul-de-sac.
There's a blockade. Now he's being forced left to go down and.
So right, yeah, it looks like it. So
Well, you talked about
the
his
garage will be
mental
on the other
state.
side of the
Yeah.
shot here.
Now what?
We try to hurry around, and we'll see if they're just going to drive right back into the garage.
They're swarming. Look how many cop cars there are. Look at all those LAPD cruisers. They're already off.
They got him.
They got him? Are we code 4?
I think they got him here. Yeah. I see a ton of police swarming around here, and indeed, it looks like.
Oh,
you know,
this
maybe
is like
didn't
a
have the
hornet's
garage
nest
door
of
open, maybe had to wait for
LAPD
it.
officers.
The issue is here, but as we peer through the trees, we can see that it looks like they have managed to tackle the suspect here back at their home off of Wyndham.
Are we code 4?
It looks like he dumped the bike as we're coming around here with Sky County.
Did he try and get off the bike and run into his house?
And that's probably when they took him into custody. He probably tried to run.
Right off, yeah.
But good job.
Oh my God, look, that is a hive. Look at all those officers. There's got to be 30 that were waiting for him. How did they know he'd go back there?
The better part of 2.5 hours. This was a result of a gentleman waving a gun from a balcony of a home in West Hills.
Yeah.
There's
and
got to be
like,
35 officers that
all
were
those
waiting for him to pull into
officers,
that damn
a
driveway.
Huge response as Mike showed us the map. They had circled.
All right,
had
folks, put your
pretty
code
much
4s
stayed
in the
one
chat.
general
Somehow,
area,
some way,
and
we have another
ended up driving
peaceful
right back to the garage
end
that he had,
resolution.
been waving the
Is that guy
gun
dribbling a
about.
basketball?
You see
What just
there was a
happened?
large response.
Oh, that was his
This
helmet.
all part of an earlier standoff. We're going to end that here.
All right, my friends, I will see you on Radio Roulette for the post-game show.
Jasmine
We're code 4, my friends.